Rachael Bowen of Trapdoor Technologies and her coming baby Morningstar, and I'm just going to ask her a few questions. Welcome to the Syrin, Rachael.
Thanks for having me, Benjamin. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure. Can you give us a brief history of Trapdoor Technologies and how you came together in the first place?
So Trapdoor Technologies started in earnest about 5 years ago, and we started as a traditional trade fiction publishing house. So we were doing publishing, and then we started to kind of transition into digital EPUB publishing. So before I came along to the project, I'm actually fairly new in terms of employees. Chris Matney, our founder, and a bunch of his engineer buddies had created this amazing technology that we call the story machine. And what it is it's basically a very advanced and awesome parsing engine. So it can take in 400,000 pages of content rather, and kind of drop that into this big bucket and then parse all of it into these beautiful little buckets like proper nouns, locations, all this stuff. So that's how we started into our ebook publishing thing. So we're out to create enhanced ebooks. So not just a PDF or an iBook where you have your text. Oh, I can make it big. I can make it small again. I can change the brightness. No, we're talking about embedding videos. We're talking about linking through other books. We're talking about embedding content, animation, art, all of that stuff. So the story machine allows us to do that really easily. Chris, our founder, is also a 37-year veteran D&D, DM, GM, role-playing game fanatic. So he started with the white box, and he has been going ever since. So he started using the story machine actually to input his own adventures and run campaigns off of his iPad when he was doing his GMing. So that's kind of how the idea for Morningstar was born.
Here's a really interesting question. It'll be interesting to see what you can say and can't say about this, but how did the relationship with Dungeons & Dragons begin, and ultimately what was your takeaway from that whole experience?
The partnership with Wizards of the Coast began in April of 2013, so actually not that long ago. So when Chris had been using the story machine to convert all of his adventures and do that thing, he started shopping around the technology to gaming companies, and he made a lot of cold calls. He did the salesman thing. He went to all these conventions, and he actually ended up hooking up with Peter Adkison at Gamma last year. And Peter put him in touch with the right people at Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast was really into the technology. We seemed to be on the same page in terms of digital publishing and where the direction was going. And at Trapdoor Technologies, we pretty much believe that the landscape of publishing is going to be vastly different in the next 5 to 10 years. And some of the research that Chris was doing while he was looking for a home for the application, or for the technology rather, and seeing if the role-playing game industry was really a fit, not a lot of publishing houses have contingency plans for digital. So it's actually really pretty surprising. So that's how that started. It started at Gamma, and then it was a whirlwind of meetings, and I was not on board at that point. It was just Chris, and he was doing his thing, and things moved along pretty quickly, and we signed a contract with Wizards of the Coast to develop the exclusive official digital tool set for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons in December of last year, so not even just about a year ago. My takeaway from kind of the fallout of what happened is that it was a wonderful experience to work with Wizards of the Coast. The D&D folks are passionate, they're talented, they put out a great product, they really know their business, they know what they're doing. What ended up happening really is just a difference of core philosophies. So we thought we were aligned with them when the project started, but it kind of turned out that we weren't quite in line in terms of philosophies of digital publishing, digital distribution, and that kind of stuff. So it was really unfortunate. It was kind of a tough and unexpected thing that happened, and we had just have about 15,000 beta testers using the technology, and then we had to say, so we're so sorry. But yeah, I mean, overall, extremely great learning experience just for me personally and for my career. It's been a whirlwind.
as quickly as possible, for those people who have no idea what Morningstar is, and if we were going to put this in the Syrin, which is a short format show, what do people need to know?
What people need to know about Morningstar is that it is the first application of its kind where you can have literally everything that you need to run a game or play a game, role-playing game, tabletop role-playing game, in one place. So you don't need a character generation app, you don't need pencils and paper, you don't need your rule books, you don't need any of those things unless you want to have them. And you can do everything in conjunction. Like, I want to do pen and paper, but I also want to have my rule lookup on my iPad. That's great. You can do that. But it is really the first application of its kind to combine all of those floating pieces of role-playing apps into one application, literally. So we've got a place for you to create your own content, your own maps, treasures, monsters, encounters, campaigns, adventures. We've got a place for players to go to roll up characters, or GMs to go to roll up NPCs. We've got a place for you to house all of your game night things. We've got a party chat system, so your GM can pass you a secret note. Your GM can share a piece of the map with you. You can have your logbook there. It's all in one place. It syncs through the cloud, web, iOS tablet, Android tablet, and coming to phone, hopefully sometime soon.
There are other products out there that do similar things. What's the main point of difference between something like Realmworks or something like Roll20, which is planning to bring their product to tabletop gaming?
Yes, they are. One of the big differences between Morningstar and some of the other competitors out there, and we really actually don't like to use the word competitor. We are all in this for the benefit of the game. We all want to see this hobby, this passion of ours come into the 21st century, for God's sakes, please. Come on. I would say that the thing about Morningstar that really strikes me, having messed around and played around with some of the other offerings, is the ease of use. It is a seamless tablet experience. Everything is where you think it's going to be. You drag, you click, you drop, you swipe. There's not a lot of this high maintenance kind of organization that you have to have. So that's been really interesting, especially for younger players, where they sometimes feel intimidated by this huge stack of rule books or this web application that kind of looks like an Excel spreadsheet. They can come to Morningstar, they can see the interaction. They know, okay, that's a menu. I can tap that to expand it. I can tap this to get more information. So the ease of use is really one of the things that jumps out at me. And the other thing that's really special and different is this community engagement. You know, we're building a community. Our goal is to build this community marketplace where everybody can come, they can share their content, they can get feedback. And if your story is popular enough, we're going to take that story, we're going to put it through the story machine, and it's going to become this adventure that you can make some money on and you can share with people. And so that's the other thing I think that sets us apart. And the other thing, one last thing, is the time piece. So because we have the story machine built, it is very easy for us to take in a 40,000 page document, put it through our parsing engine.
Wow.
You know, that takes us hours as opposed to weeks, days, or months. So where a lot of these other companies might get caught up is implementing all of these rule systems, getting them all cross-linked, getting them all programmed in the back end. And we already have the technology that does that.
So
Sure.
Will you be incorporating OGL rule sets like the Pathfinder into the actual story machine, or is it mainly for fluff?
Is it mainly for fluff? What do you mean?
So fluff is the part of the rule books which is talking about a location and who the mayor is and what the colour of the buildings are.
All of it.
Yeah, so all of it.
All of it.
So in Hero Lab, for instance, you can build a character and it's interactive with the rule set and everything. And when you add one bonus, it flows through, and that means those rule sets need to be entered in complete detail. Is that going to be the case with Morningstar?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a big part of a big part of what we're asking for is in this financial piece, right? So we're asking for this money for Kickstarter, and a big part of the cost associated with that is taking out the 5th edition rule set and putting in the PRD. So that is not a light undertaking. we absolutely have the technology that helps do that. So all of the fluff that you were talking about, like character descriptions or place descriptions, or that stuff is easier. It just kind of needs to be formatted and put into the correct, like, oh, this is where this page goes, and then gets cross-linked. But programmatically, we have to enter all of those rules in.
Fantastic. So this is a Pathfinder product now, and that's going to make Pathfinder incredibly rich and powerful, and Dungeons and Dragons now has a whole. What would you say to that?
This is intended to be, I would say, for me, it is more of a community product than it is a Pathfinder product. Pathfinder, the PRD and the PRD there is the most accessible and obvious answer for us to turn to after, keeping in mind that we had our contract with Wizards pulled on the week before Halloween. We've only had a month to put all of this stuff together. So kind of creating those relationships with other game systems and other publishers takes time. It's something that we're pounding the pavement. I mean, I live on Skype. We're doing a lot of things. We're outreaching. We're talking to a lot of interesting people. We've got a lot of cool things kind of brewing, because it turns out we're not the only ones that want to do this. There are quite a lot of other game publishers that would love to see their stuff simply integrated, and bam, it's just there, ready to go. They give us the content, we put it into the store machine, and it magically happens, right? So, yes, the PRD was an obvious choice, because it's an open rule set, and that's what we needed to go for, at least at this point. So, it's also, Pathfinder has how many millions of players worldwide?
That's a fantastic answer. That makes a lot of sense to me, yeah. So you can turn immediately to them without having to negotiate, because it's an open rule system, and then you can... so let me ask this question. So you've gone with Pathfinder because you can do that immediately. Are you hoping to go into Star Wars, Shadowrun, other sorts of rule systems when you can and when you can negotiate those things?
So we chose to go with Pathfinder because it was the most obvious and the quickest implementation of our technology. Also because it has a huge following. Pathfinder fans are incredibly devoted and wild and rabid and amazing. So it was an easy fit. And do we see, like, do we see this going to other rule sets? Absolutely. Absolutely. D20 is kind of what we're working with right now. So that's kind of, I can just give you that little tidbit there. We've had a lot of people ask about Star Wars, Call of Cthulhu, Shadowrun, Dark Heresy, Warhammer role-playing game, 13th Age, Numenera. I mean, we've had a lot of requests, and I can just say that there's nobody that we're not trying to talk to. So
fantastic. That's very exciting to me. There are a number of different ways you can do Kickstarters. Sometimes you can start with a very low target, say $10,000, and stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch to push people to where they go. You have set a very high Kickstarter target. Can you tell us a little bit about that decision?
The reason that we went for a higher pledge goal for Morningstar and for the Kickstarter specifically was because good software is not affordable. Great software is not cheap to make. We've had a lot of people in the community kind of rise up around that statement of, I could get 10 of my programmer buddies, we could have this done in 6 months. That's great, but would it look like and be the interactive and fully immersive experience that we want it to be? Probably not. Maybe so. I mean, if you're out there, give us a call. Do you want to come work for us? Because we could use you right now. So a lot of people have said, I could do that. And the point is, nobody has done it yet. So if it were super easy, everybody would have tried to do it. And people have made different products. And there are some really great products out there we've already talked about. Realmworks, Hero Lab, they're great products. But having everything kind of come together onto this tablet experience, having it be interactive, having the art be there, having the design be there. We have a user experience specialist. I mean, that's what he does. So we're not just kind of schlocking a bunch of stuff together and shipping it out. So a lot of the cost there is associated with those things. It's also associated with taking the 5th edition rule set out and putting the PRD in. And when you've only got a couple people working on that, that's a full-time and expensive endeavor. And the other piece that is pretty expensive for us is taking the story machine, which for the D&D application was totally back end. So we were just publishing Wizards content. It was set up to do just that. We didn't need it to be a customer-facing experience. So now that we're offering this community marketplace where people can publish their own adventures, all of that technology needs to be customer-facing. It needs to be super streamlined, very easy to use, and it needs to work, right? So I do community management, customer support, and social media. So can you just imagine, like, if you uploaded all of your text and half of it went through, but it got cut in like all of these different weird sections? I mean, it would be horrible. So making sure that part of the application is really robust is an expensive endeavor. And the story machine has been, like I said, completely back end, and now we're bringing it to the forefront. So that is expensive. The other thing is we were really worried, if we asked for too little and we're able to attain that funding level, but that not get us through to launch, that would be the worst thing ever. To have to say, thank you for this $200,000. It was really great while it lasted. Guess what? We have to go find another investor. We have to go find funding elsewhere, and your product isn't going to get to you until 2017. So, yeah.
Fantastic. That's a very good answer.
Good.
Is there anything else that's been in the back of your mind that you feel like you've forgotten to mention that you'd just like to say right now?
There is a few things. There are always a few things with me. The whole Trapdoor Tech team is very verbose, so all of our meetings are very long and long-winded, and we kind of have to punch each other to get a word in edgewise. But I think it's because we're all so passionate about this. We've been working on it so hard for so long. We just really want to see it come to fruition. So I think one of my big asks for people is, and also just to be completely frank with them, is that if we don't get this funding now, this probably isn't going to happen. So we're in a really unique position where we have this product almost ready to go. We just have to take out the rules, put the new ones in. And I'm really wishing I had a sound effect for that, because I keep doing this and it feels like, yeah, something like that. So we need to do that. And then we need to do the story machine thing. And then we're ready to go. I mean, we were ready to launch on iOS in August of 2014, which is still this year. It's crazy. So we were ready to go. So we've got a lot of things ready to go. They just need to be streamlined. They need to have the things that we talked about. And so we're really far along, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make. And we have the story machine technology, which is going to allow us to continue to add new things, new content, new stories, new rule sets really easily. So if we got to add something like Warhammer role-playing, for example, like that wouldn't take us 3 years to do. That would take us, 6 to 8 months to do in a couple, pretty big production cycles. But if we don't fund, then it's not going to happen. And for any other company to get to the point where we are in terms of agileness, that's a word.
Agility.
Agility. This is like a thing. This is a stat, right? Your agility, kind of, maybe. So we're just, we're really asking people, if you believe in this technology and if you believe that role-playing is ready for a dose of the 21st century and you want things to move into more of a digital format, this is the time to do it. Because for any other company, we really do believe that it's going to take them 2 to 3 years to catch up with what we've already got. So, yeah, that's what I would like to say to everyone. And hi, and I love you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Rachael. You've given us heaps of information which people are going to really enjoy listening to, and it'll give us heaps more context for what's going on.
Great.